Okay, welcome back, everyone. Today, we have an absolutely fantastic explainer lined up for you. We're going to journey right into the physical core of digital hardware design. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering how that invisible logic inside your microchips actually works, well, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to design, code, and literally synthesize a sequence detector right from scratch. Let's get into it. Think about this for just a second. I want you to picture a digital fire hose, just a relentless, endless stream of ones and zeros flying past. How in the world does a piece of hardware, which remember has no brain and no software, detect a highly specific pattern in all that noise? Well, today, we're going to solve that exact practical mystery together. To solve this, here is our game plan. First, FSM theory. Second, designing the state diagram. Third, writing the Verilog code. Fourth, simulation and verification. And finally, number 5, synthesis and hardware results. Section 1, finite state machine theory. Right, so a finite state machine, or FSM, is basically just a sequential circuit with a finite number of states. Now, there are two main flavors of FSMs out there, the Mealy FSM and the Moore FSM. For our explainer today, we're going to focus entirely on the Moore FSM. And why is that? Simply put, the Moore FSM keeps things incredibly clean. Its output depends only on the current state of the machine. It's completely independent of the immediate inputs, which is exactly what we want. You can really see how information flows here. Your sequence in feeds right into the next state combinational logic that calculates where we actually go next. Then that feeds into our state memory, which is triggered by a clock and a reset to hold our current state. And finally, that current state feeds directly into the output logic to give us our detector out. The input now skips over directly to the output. It's a beautifully structured flow. Section 2, designing the state diagram. Okay, so now that we have our architecture, we need a specific blueprint for the pattern we're hunting for, which is 1011. I absolutely love visual maps like this. These bubbles and arrows are literally the blueprint for our entire Verilog code. Each bubble is a unique state that represents exactly how much of our 1011 sequence we've seen so far. And the arrows, they show our transitions based on whether that next incoming bit is a 0 or a 1. The text inside is the state name, and that little number after the slash is the output. Let's actually walk through how this builds step by step when a successful sequence hits. Step 1, we start in the 0 state. We've seen absolutely nothing. Step 2, boom, a 1 arrives. We follow the arrow straight to the 1 state. Step 3, a 0 arrives. Awesome, we move to the 1-0 state. We now have 1-0. Step 4, another 1 comes in. We transition to 1-0-1. We've got 101. And then step 5, the final 1 arrives. We jump to the 1011 state. And if you look really closely at that final state's bubble, the output is a 1. Our output just went high. We successfully caught that 1011 sequence. And if an incorrect bit had arrived at any point, those arrows would have smartly bumped us right back to an earlier state to just start searching all over again. Section 3, writing the Verilog code. So now we're taking that awesome visual map and translating it into code that a computer can actually synthesize into silicon. I know hardware code can look a bit dense at first glance, but really, don't let it overwhelm you. Our Verilog code is logically broken down into 3 main structural blocks that perfectly mirror the theory we just talked about. First, sequential memory. Second, next state combinational logic. And third, output logic. In that next state logic block, we use a command called case current state. And under this case statement, we are literally just writing down the rules of those bubbles we just looked at. For example, the code basically reads, if we're in state 0 and the sequence input is a 1, well, the next state equals 1. Else, the next state remains 0. We're just systematically writing out the arrows from our diagram into plain text. Honestly, it's that straightforward. Section 4, simulation and verification. Now, before any engineer commits to actually manufacturing physical hardware, because let me tell you, that is incredibly expensive, they absolutely must prove their logic works. And here is that proof. This is the simulation waveform generated by our test bench. The test bench is basically feeding a fake clock and a pre-planned string of 1s and 0s right into our code. Notice the sequence in row, you can actually see the bits toggling. Now drop your eyes down to the detector out row. See that beautiful spike where the line jumps high? That is the exact moment our simulated FSM caught the full 1011 sequence. It works. Section 5, synthesis and hardware results. All right, this is the ultimate payoff right here, turning verified code into physical hardware configurations. Just look at this incredible transformation. Over on the left, we've got the RTL, the register transfer level schematic, which shows our high-level functional blocks. But the technology schematic on the right, that shows the true magic. The synthesis tool analyzed our Verilog code and automatically generated this beautifully complex gate-level netlist wiring. It literally mapped our abstract states into real, physical flip-flops and logic buffers.
So the absolutely crucial question is, how efficient was our design? Well, the device utilization summary tells us exactly how much of the target chip we ended up using, and the numbers are just staggering. We used 1 out of 704 slices. That's essentially 0%. We used 2 out of 1408 slice flip-flops, 2 out of 1408 4-input lookup tables. Our design is so incredibly lightweight and optimized that it barely even registers on the physical resources available on the chip. And because the logic is so unbelievably tight and efficient, the synthesis tool gives us a maximum frequency of 496.771 megahertz. Really think about that for a second. Our tiny little hardware sequence detector can comfortably clock almost 500 million bits every single second to hunt for that 1011 pattern. 500 million! That, my friends, is the sheer power of dedicated hardware design. We've traveled all the way from the basic theory of a Moore machine down to a sub-nanosecond physical gate network that detects our 111 sequence flawlessly. You now completely understand the blueprint for how hardware actively listens to data. So, the only question left is, with this powerful framework now in your toolbox, what binary sequence will you synthesize next? Keep exploring, keep building, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.